Well, welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks. The island was awesome. I just got back 2 days ago. I'm still unpacking and airing things out. It was pretty good. Wait till the next episode. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about all the precursory stuff and a little bit about the island. So the island itself is kind of part of an archipelago, I guess you'd call it, of islands near the Mackinac Straits. There we go. And the most well-known of the Mackinac Strait Islands is Mackinac Island. It's a big touristy hub thing. I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, if you haven't been there and you're around Michigan, definitely check it out. It's a very cool island, but it's very touristy. So anyways, below Mackinac Island is a teeny tiny island called Round Island. And below that is a much larger island. I think it's like 4 times the size of Mackinac, called Mont Blanc. Yeah, I'd never heard it before. I've been looking for land for probably over 10 years, give or take, and really been looking for the past 2, 3 years. And got inspired to look at this little island because there's another dude on YouTube. His channel's called the Scotes or Scotes, something like that. Look him up. I might try to put a link if I remember to have time in the description. He's a really cool dude. Anyways, when looking on this one real estate website, they just have little red dots that you can click on that's land for sale. And I have noticed there was some dots on this island. And I clicked on one, and it was so cheap, and everything I had been looking for. It was like, lady on the phone, shut up and take my money. And it happened really quickly. I have to admit, the title search and closing and everything happened within about 3 weeks. And within that 3 weeks' time, I was gathering up all this gear and equipment and knowledge because I knew nothing about the island, nothing about how I could build on it, regulations, anything. And I had to do a lot of research on that. And like things like I found out later on that I have to be 35 feet back from the road and 30 feet away from the road and 20 feet away from the back line. And then on both sides, I have to be in 10 feet. My lot is only 35 by 125. So mathed out, that's only 15 by 75. That's all the space I really have to work with, which is probably why the land was so cheap. But it's perfect for me. Most people probably want to build a really big functional cabin. I just want to build a little shack in the woods. We'll be more on that too, because there's a lot of code and weirdness there. But realistically, what we're talking about in this episode is the gear and prepping for the adventure itself. And like I said, I only had 3 weeks to do it. I had to buy a ton of equipment, and it worked out. There was a lot of ups and downs, and luckily I was already prepping for a trip that was a canoe trip and would not nearly as much gear, but I was already kind of had the gears in motion for putting stuff together for an adventure. So without further ado, I give to you Prepping for Mont Blanc Island, the Bohemian Way. Thanks. So, yeah, let's get started. I was told this was a 1979. I just realized the badge here says 1980, which is fine. But that means it's technically not the 70s anymore. I like how it says it could take up to 510 pounds. I'm understanding that, right? That's insane. You gotta love it. To work now, where'd it go there? There we go. Alright. There we go. Oh man. Everything is just so gross and sticky. So yeah, best shot I can get for you guys of the rust in there. If you can see even on the tank. It's an OG tank. That was it. That one spot was the thing instead of running it for a mile. You don't need to view this. We'll take care of you in a minute. Alright, so I think I came up with a nifty solution for this little seat wobble action, at least the best I can do. Bought these rubber pads for like seats or something, I'm not sure. And I thought that actually the screws kind of screwed into it, and they don't. So I end up having to use these little nuts and bolts and washers. And I think actually I've got to try it. I don't know why this wouldn't work. Thanks. It's really funny, for all this while I always thought the gas tank was kind of modular to this whole pressed metal design. It's still pressed metal, but it's not built in. Thought I had a 10mm. Lost the ubiquitous 10 millimeter. Here it is. Alright, let's not go too crazy. Put it in here, which is oddly, I think, like a 12 millimeter. Alright, that's good on that one. Oh, dude, that's so nice. That is insanely nice. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Alright. Oh, God, that is stiff now. Oh. All right, so today I'm going to focus on getting my pack together for the island, but mostly just my pack, like kind of like how I go backpacking, my clothing, my bedding, and everything, stuff like that. As I'm still trying to suss all this out, I want to kind of wrap up as many components as possible. I have everything kind of broken down in this little island book. So step by step, like I think the first thing should be my clothing. The lady's probably the back. Should be my personal needs to make sure I'm dry and warm and all that stuff. But that's pretty much set. I always keep a backpacker thing set away and aside for that, which should be mostly in here. I might make a few adjustments. Those are the two things I'm going to try to figure out today, and hopefully then I'll feel a little more comfortable knowing I got some stuff done. The next thing after that will be the tools necessary, like the chainsaw and all the equipment necessary for that, like the gasoline, the oil for the bar, and also for mix. The tools, which is really all attached. Everything's there. Actually, I've never used it yet. So getting that all together, shovels, at least a shovel, a pick, an axe. I think that's really about everything I can think of that's going to be necessary for doing some basic clearing. So let's get cracking. So right off the bat, I found most of the stuff I usually take. So I don't remember quite, I then have in here. But nice little scarf setup you can use for a lot of stuff. A little backpacker's quilt, which is a powder down thing. It packs down to nothing and it's really warm. Tarps on top, always makes sense. Backpacker's rain gear, which these frog togs are okay. They're practically like tieback. So if a tree branch touches them, they just tear. So keep that in mind. They're okay. Next. Evidently 2 water bottles. I don't know. One's probably running an inline, one's not running an inline. So yeah, this one is a little fancier, more hardcore. Has a Sawyer system, which I highly recommend. This is like the best water filter out there ever. My heavy duty wool pants. Oh, that's my stove. Nice heavy, well, this wouldn't be super heavy, but mid-weight down jacket. Heavy shirt, and another, oh, this is really nice, like wool, I think it's actually cashmere, sweater I acquired somehow. Rag wool socks, which you can't find these anymore. And if someone can, let me know. I look for them all over the place online, and I find stuff that's rag wool, and it's a sock, but it's nothing like these heavy duty rag wool socks. I can't find these things anywhere, and these things are awesome. Kind of like a stretchy joggy pant. The bottom half of my zip away pants. Yeah, I love this wool shirt. It's great. Actually, they're known for making hats, but they also make really good apparel in general. This is my mattress. pillow, my bug net with something attached to stakes. The top half of my pants. Lifesavers right here. And waters. I'll show you how much of a lifesaver these things are. I have a whole bag stuffed in there. When you're doing a lot of cold weather camping, they definitely come in handy if you can't have a fire. Chuck a couple of those in your bag, and this is my sleeping bag. It's just a bivouac, which is an older school military one. And in the bottom of it, trying to keep them extra dry, is a jungle bag, which these things are rated to keep you alive, not warm, alive at freezing. So this thing is not that great. That's why I usually use, I'm amazed it's not in here actually. This is why you check this stuff before you leave. A sleeping bag liner type thing, and then I also will bring this down and something else depending on what weather I'm going in, which is weird that I knew this was in my other bag, but I don't have the liner in there, so I'll have to get that. So that'll keep me alive and fairly warm and dry. I got a different rain outfit I want to bring other than that, but I'll probably bring that one as a backup for whatever reason, because it doesn't take up much space. And yeah, find the other piece of this. Well, I might just bring that bigger blanket. So anyways, I'll figure that out. Actually, this guy's going to be a little backup inverter I'm going to store with this. I think this is a 1,000-watt inverter. Anyways, I got most of the big components already laid out and kind of strapped in here. I got to run another bar in here and run a bunch of cabling. And I'm going to try to make a bunch of like pass-through points for the cables. That way this will be a little bit more waterproof. I can leave it outside and not have to be too concerned about it. So hopefully I can get some more of that done. The few things I got to hook up, and I want these externally. I'll show more of this in a minute. These are DC outlets for charging phones and whatnot. And this is a little thermostat so I can keep an eye on the temperatures inside. I got to find that fan too. It's another thermostat. This, actually, I'm going to put on like an extension, DC extension cable kind of thing. So it'll live in there, but I'll be able to take it out and hopefully run it. It's going to be a bit of a distance, but maybe into the tent or some other place so we can actually always have light. But I got one of these, which I can order another one of these, and this is more of like a treble light. It has its own little solar thing that it's battery operated, and that so I can use it as a backup place to charge a phone or whatever. So this is also going to live with the solar. It's 2 weeks away, and I close on it, and I just got the email about it. So I'm like, I don't know, I'm nervous. I can even tell, like, this feel a little different all of a sudden, getting scared. Like double checking how the land looks, because I've never really seen it, so I can only see it through satellite. I'm learning about how there's swales and getting nervous. We'll see how it goes though. But it does. Actually, I have a choke, half choke, and fuel off on this thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't plan on putting gas in this, but it does have a 1.58 gas tank. I'm assuming it's 6 liters. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of neat for what it is. Without any gas, this thing is so light. So I always recommend to people hitting the dual fuel, and just really your gasoline's your backup. Your propane should be your main thing. But enough talking. Let's get it going. Difference. And you want to make sure you have eco mode off. Eco is all your DC run. So when I hit DC on or eco, I guess the eco off, or you want to look at it, you can hear it really lags. You only want to use that if you're going to be charging your battery directly off this, using like a DC 12 point. And of course your phone charger off this, but I think it'd probably be more conducive just to use this to charge your battery and then use that to charge your phone. But maybe they'd be lost there. I don't know. Nonetheless, yeah, this thing's pretty dope. and again. It's that classic, you make a plan, you know the plan won't work out. So you plan to make that plan work. Now it worked out just fine. It just took a lot longer. Well, not a lot longer. It took longer than I was expecting. I thought I'd have what we have here in 3 days and I would be ripping it apart yesterday, but I actually finished it yesterday and I'm ripping it apart today. So I'm kind of a day behind in what I thought I'd be able to do. But it's not a huge deal. I didn't bring the camera out because it's just, I have to focus. This was a bit of a trick. Like these little setup here, it'll hinge up in conjunction with the metal door that sits up here, and I have these little magnets, and I might have to get a couple more of these, so hopefully they'll actually stick, maybe not as they move, but at least I can maybe get them to stick up out of the way when I'm doing stuff. Now we got squirrel fights. I haven't dropped off any peanuts, and I don't know if Marie gave them any sunflower seeds today. I guess I should do that. Anyways, this ended up fitting really well. I had to do a little goofy thing back here, which I was kind of expecting. And all of this is actually probably a little tall to the true point. This is a true point, which will change the angle. Man, they are really being dicks today. Hey, what's the matter, guys? Want some peanuts? Here. They fight for the position around here because I feed them rather well. I usually have about 6 or 8 squirrels a day. And they do kind of look the same after a while. Yep. The clever buggers, man, they'll take 2 at a time. Except the fox squirrels are not that smart. Anyways, where was I here? I can edit some of this. Here you go. Before he gets his ass kicked. So anyways, what was there? So, today's plan is to get this all disassembled in a way that I think I can keep the side pieces on the back. Some of it will be able to hinge in alignment, so I won't have to take everything apart and it'll just kind of fall back into place, hopefully. The deck, obviously, all has to completely come apart. I'm hoping I can take the deck in the first pack with me. Things are getting tight, and even weight is becoming a slight bit of an issue. Most SUVs are kind of on a light truck chassis, which is about 500 pounds minus the occupants. So people go over that all the time, but we're probably getting pretty close to 500 pounds. And then I got to make sure all the aluminum and everything's packed nice in a way that is sensible. And then I got to figure all that out and actually pre-pack it probably Friday. Today's Wednesday. And get some photos and some notes, so that way when Marie is packing it, hopefully with a mate or 2 of hers, that it's pretty easy, straightforward, and not too much of a hassle for them. And my only kind of worry is that if they do it in a way that really bends, especially any of these kind of components of the framework of the steel shed, that could be a problem. So we'll have to figure that out. Kind of also figure out why this is really snug, but yours seem wobbly. I'll have to figure that out too. So anyways, I got some work to do. Did you order stuff to poop in the woods? I know I did. Merry Christmas to me. So this isn't even all of it, actually, because I have to worry about what's called black water. I'm sure you know what that means. And gray water. And the gray water is kind of easier to deal with. There's not quite as strict rules with handling that. However, I do know that, especially water that has like food and soap and stuff in it, you really don't want to just drain that out in your yard area. Not only is it gross, it'll attract bugs and mice and then bigger animals for the mice, and you don't want to do that. So I got a couple components. This will actually be a drain bolt for the sink, and I have another one that'll also be like a backup filling bolt for the toilet, if that makes sense. And I'm not going to have the toilet drain directly into the tank like I will the sink. There'll actually be a little lugaloo that will have its own, I think it's 5.8 gallon capacity underneath it, that once that gets near full, we can then transfer the contents to one of these guys, and that gives us the ability to hold up to 20 gallons of black water, waste, or whatever you want to call it, safely, and be able to then also safely transport it off the island when we're done. Because even if we have the most livable shed there is out there, because that's the other thing too, ever since we can't have a septic, we're too close to the water line, and our property's too small to put in the next option, which is a vault toilet. I mean, I probably could be done, but for the price tag and everything, it would just be insane. So instead of spending like $30,000 for just a vault toilet, I decided to spend probably too much money on some of these components. All that and more! Hopefully I'll also have room for the tent. The flooring setup I have for the tent. My bed. Easy Up for sure will be going, as well as these hand tools. Some solar equipment and a few other things for a power setup that I'll show if I haven't already. And blue. Because once Marie gets there, I have 3 days, roughly, until I gotta go. Which if it takes me more than 3 days to put that thing together, I done fucked up. So yeah, that's pack 1. Some of the stuff for pack 2 will be this cook stove setup. Probably a smaller propane tank. I don't think I'll be bringing this one. It's really heavy. It'll be awkward for Marie to tote. Depending on how power goes, I don't really think we'll need this, but maybe. I feel like there's some other stuff that should be helping out at me out here. But then of course Marie's personal gear. That's really about it. I don't want to have her to bring too much stuff. A, gets a little heavy, and B, she just kind of suffered an injury during derby stuff, so her foot's really a ting. Hopefully one of her derby mates will come through and give her a hand. Another thing we won't be bringing is this behemoth of a sink. This will be our main water kind of reservoir when we do go camping up there. So that will be the only thing I actually fill up with water. And everything else we'll just get locally. I have filtration, so it'll be great.